Welcome. Welcome to the inauguration of the 2022-2023 Portland Board of Public Education. I would like to call the inauguration to order. It's Monday, December 5th, and we're meeting in a blended format with some of us here in person at Casco Bay High School and others joining us via Zoom. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Bondo.
Présente.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Ms. Russell Better.
Here.
Ms. Biliou. Ms. Ryden.
Here.
Mr. Youssef.
Here.
Ms. Lentz.
Here.
Mr. Grant.
Here.
Ms. Ellis. Mr. McLaughlin. Mr. Alhamili. Ms. Santiago.
Here.
Ms. Diu. And Chair Figdor.
Here. So we are going to begin tonight with the Star Spangled Banner, performed by the Portland Public Schools High School Orchestra under the direction of Miss Julianne Eberl. Now, Gavin and Carson Burke will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Gavin is a fourth grader at Rowe Elementary School, and Carson is a kindergartner.
So which one's first?
Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, excellent job, by the way. And now Gavin and Carson are going to lead us in a land acknowledgement.
Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqey or Maliseet, Mi'kmaq, Penobscot, and Penobscot and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye, folks.
Board, it's been a great honor to serve as chair these past 2 years. It's been a time of extraordinary challenges for the Portland Public Schools. The COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing trauma our students and staff are carrying from the pandemic, the severe staffing shortage, and now the disruption to our payroll system. Payroll is top of mind for all of us in this moment, and we cannot be satisfied with our response until every single member of the Portland Public Schools has been paid accurately and reimbursed for fees or penalties they incurred due to our errors. We have fixed both the software and system of controls to ensure that nothing like this will happen again, and we have rebuilt trust with our staff. While rebuilding trust will take time, we have in fact turned a corner in fixing our payroll system, thanks to the Herculean efforts of the staff team that has stepped in to run payroll and to marshal the additional resources needed to make sure every staff member is paid correctly and to fully address the underlying problems. Despite the intense challenges right now, and frankly, since the day in March 2020, when we first closed our schools due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I remain full of optimism about our ability to transform Portland Public Schools into an anti-racist school district that inspires and meets every child's potential. I remain full of optimism because we are a multiracial, multilingual, and economically diverse community that truly values public education and has, at least at times, supported courageous leaders, though it's never easy for those leaders. I want to challenge each of us to be courageous, to stretch ourselves. Do not be satisfied with the status quo for our students or staff. This year, the board has made hard decisions, decisions that we could have avoided to take an easier path, such as balancing enrollment and demographics at our 2 comprehensive high schools, and trying to re-envision the school budget process to enable our city to make better decisions for our schools and city as a whole. We need to keep doing hard things. We need to be courageous. We have so much more work to do to dismantle systems and structures that perpetuate inequities in our schools, particularly for students and staff of color. We have so much more work to do to become an anti-racist school district and provide every student the education they deserve. And being courageous means not only taking on and making hard decisions, but also supporting the courageous leaders around us, our courageous educators, staff, and administrators, like Superintendent Batana, including through the hardest of times. I want to share with you words about courage and cowardice from Martin Luther King Jr. Courage is an inner resolution to go forward despite obstacles. Cowardice is submissive surrender to circumstances. Courage breeds creativity. Cowardice represses fear and is mastered by it. Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when we must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because it is right. That time is now. Let's have the courage individually and together to do what is right for the students and staff of Portland Public Schools, and particularly for those who are historically and to this day are marginalized, our students and staff of color, our English language learners, and students with disabilities. With that context, I've invited several of our courageous educators to join us today to briefly share with us some of what they see for the year ahead. I want to introduce them individually, but first I want to mention that Halima Noor, who teaches social studies at Deering High School, was planning to join us today, but unfortunately is ill. And if anyone has heard Halima speak, we are missing a lot tonight. But we appreciate her willingness to be here and certainly wish her a speedy recovery. So I'd like to start tonight by introducing Matt Bernstein, who happens to be the Maine Teacher of the Year and teaches here at Casco Bay High School. So Matt, will you please join us?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I just want to say I was thinking about hope and what I hope for the year ahead. And what I really hope is that we can continue to build relationships of trust with our students and with our families. And for me, it really starts with listening to our students. I'm particularly excited to be saying that tonight when you're about to inaugurate student reps to the board, including one who I had the great privilege to teach last year and to continue working with. And what I can say is that I'm a much better teacher and a much better person for any moment where I listen to her. And so any opportunity that we can to listen to our students and really allow ourselves to be guided by them and to trust in them and to show them that we hope they can trust in us, I think will make us the best possible educational setting for them. So thank you so much. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Matt. Next, I'd like to introduce Alberto Morales, an assistant principal at Portland High School.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I also wanted to echo that I learned a lot from listening to Matt and listening to Joe. And I really appreciate them. Hi there, and congratulations, anyone who's new. I wanted to take this chance first to express gratitude and appreciation for all of you, for central office, for Javier, Malia, Aaron, and many others that have been constantly working behind the scenes for the most part. All the challenges that everybody knows about, and then some. I wanted to really, truly show appreciation for all the teachers that I have had the privilege to work with all through my career, and especially now, and I'm seeing it from a different perspective. Those folks are on the front lines of education and all the challenges that we face. So I really, truly, and deeply want to express that appreciation. And I wanted to express appreciation for the foundation, the words of the Portland Promise, and how they continue to help preserve and deepen and grow all the strengths of the district. So I also wanted to encourage all of us, and especially you on the board, to embrace innovation. Our challenges are unique and they're many, and although we're all doing amazing work, there is always a need to continue to embrace research, best practices, and to recognize that today's students are unique and they require new approaches to meet them where they are and to prepare them for what is next, whether that be higher education or whether that be the workforce. We have to understand our students and their families, and we want to raise up their voices, like Matt said. We want to capitalize on those unique strengths and the knowledge they bring, and we want to usher in that next iteration of school for the modern world as it is and how it will be. And so listening to our families and our students is key to that. And I think this requires thinking outside the box, partnering with community, finding ways to address all the needs from housing to social and emotional needs. And we have done a lot. And we have also come up short in other areas in terms of paying off that education debt that we owe to our students and families, and that we can only do right by them if we continue to grow and adapt and to innovate. Thinking of school as a hub of the community and a place where families and their students come to get whatever it is they need, whatever support they need to lift them up and move them forward. I think that we do that in our schools and in our district, but I don't know if we do that by design. I think we're just reacting to it because we want to do the right thing and we want to help our families. And so we're scrambling around trying to figure out what's the best support, where do we connect them to? But I think we have a lot of room to grow in terms of doing that deliberately and by design to really be a school as a hub for the whole community. And I wanted to just bring attention lastly to two particular challenges that I've become more and more aware of, and just want to encourage and just put that in front of us. And I think everybody knows about them, but I just want to name them. One of them that I've become even more intimately aware of in our schools is the challenge of nicotine. And it's sad that we had made a lot of impact and improvement as a society with the young people in terms of nicotine. I think I saw that we were down very low in terms of kids doing that. And then ever since electronic cigarettes and vaping have come around, we've lost all the gains that we had accomplished. And I think we're back to where we were before. And I'm seeing it intimately. And I want us to recognize that, to see how big of a challenge that is, how much that gets in the way of success for our students. And just that I think there's a lot of room for improving the supports that are out there, the things that we can do, because I think we've learned a lot and we know, and we've moved as a district, and we don't want to approach that as punishment in a punitive way. So that is awesome. It's off the table. It's not what we really think about when we're addressing that, but there's not so much in terms of what the alternative is right now. So I just really wanted to, bring that to the fore, not just nicotine, obviously other substances too. And just thinking about that systematically and approaching it. I also see a powerful need for resources and tools to use as this work goes on, places to refer students. Like I said, right now they're lacking. The other challenge that I just want to hold up and keep in the forefront, and it has also gotten a lot of attention, but just to underscore the depths of the crisis of our students struggling with such an incredible amount of trauma, life circumstances, and mental health, right? The pandemic is not over, and there were things that existed before, and this just, made it more obvious and exacerbated it. And we as schools are trying our best to respond to this. And I'm in awe every day at the incredible work that our educators and our social workers and all support staff are doing in trying to respond to this. But the bottom line is that our students will continue to struggle mightily academically to be academically successful if they don't know where they're going to be living, if they don't know where their next meal is coming from, and what are they going to eat, and on those basics needs that they have, school is low on that list of priorities. And so I think all the things that we use in schools to know if we're doing well are all focused on academics, right? They're all focused on math and reading and writing. But we know we're doing so much more. And I think we need to just kind of adjust how we are knowing if we're being successful by, including the things that we know the students need outside of academics to help them be successful with academics. And just recognizing that learning can't happen without those basics being addressed. And I think in a lot of ways, our schools in general, public education was not made to address those things. And now we are addressing them. And so again, just kind of fine tuning and adjusting and thinking about that is part of what we do in schools, but it wasn't what we were designed to do. And it's not what we're often held accountable for, at least not formally. And it's just a huge challenge. And it's something that, again, I'm so grateful and appreciative of our educators, our staff, our social workers, all the support staff, and all the time and energy and thoughtfulness that they bring to try to address this. But I just think, again, there's a lot of work to be done to do this in a much more comprehensive way. And then just lastly, I want to say that another thing that I learned and took away from working with Matt for so many years is that this may sound like I'm not optimistic, but I am, because I see amazing students like Joe and others, and interact with them every day and talk to teachers every day and observe teachers in their classrooms and see just all the amazing work they're doing. And that leaves me very optimistic and hopeful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Alberto. Next, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Ayers, who is an ed tech in the Breathe program at Rowe Elementary School.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'd like to start first by congratulating all of you and our newly elected board member. For 8 years in the early 2000s, I sat in your seat as a local school board member and as an officer on the state and national school board association. And your role as policy leaders and defenders of a free and appropriate education will be challenging and immensely rewarding as well. I've been asked to speak to you following Emily's remarks, and in that context, you have been elected by your communities to be the vanguards of learning. You are tasked to be beacons of light in a time when the education of our young people faces unprecedented struggles and challenges. And those tasked with implementing Portland's educational vision are your boots on the ground employees. And lucky for you, because Portland Public Schools has some of the kindest, most involved, committed, positive, inclusive, diverse, thoughtful, dedicated, innovative, professional, daring, and brave people that I know. Portland Public Schools is uniquely progressive district, unlike any other that I have ever worked with. And you will help guide the most important work that is done in our schools, teaching students how to think critically and problem solve, ensuring that the wonderful diversity in our community is honored with equity and inclusion and opportunity for all students. You'll also be focusing on positive behavioral interventions that support the social and emotional learning that our children will need as they grow into the future leaders of our community and deal with the trauma that they have experienced over the past few years. I'm a newcomer to the Portland School District and to a newly launched career in education. And from my unique perspective, I see the challenges the school board faces and the district as well. They're significant and need attention, but they are surmountable. That is my hope. And my hope going forward is that the board, in partnership with your central office administration and leaders, is that you continue the focus on equity and inclusion, and that you make decisions and policies that place more value on compensation in order to attract and retain high quality educators in the district. My hope is that you put students and families and staff as your highest priority and in real and tangible ways, like the funding that it will take to implement your very, very wonderful and positive ideas and thoughts. My hope is also that you hold yourselves accountable and hold administrators accountable to the same standards and expectations that you demand of the folks who are and have become marginalized within the district. My hope is that central office will learn from its employees and its leaders in the district and the wonderful example of people in our schools. They do hard things every single day, every day. And I hope that you will work with transparency, collaboration, accountability in real and meaningful ways by acknowledging that the solutions to the district's problems are complex. It's not an easy fix, and they are multi-layered, but that they are important and that you can also do hard things for the district. Thanks. I wish you all great luck, and I look forward to working with you some more.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Now we're going to hear from Family Engagement Specialist Betsy Paz-Gaimski. Jimeshi. Betsy, my apologies.
Hi, good evening. First of all, thank you for all of the work and congratulations on your positions. I'm not gonna repeat what my colleagues Matt and Alberto has said. That was kind of half of what I was gonna say. My hope and my dream for this year and for many more years to come is that we really come together and continue the equity work that Superintendent Botana has started. I can tell you, as a BIPOC employee, I have felt a big change in working in the district since we've become much more focused on this work. I have felt it personally, and I've also been hearing it from students as well. So my dream is that we continue building it together as a community. So thank you. Thank you for everything, Javier.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Next, we're going to hear from Mallory Har, a teacher here at Casco Bay High School.
All right, congratulations to all the newly elected, re-elected members of the board, particularly the students. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and thanks to all of you for your service and for having me. I'm a teacher of English to multilingual learners here at Casco Bay, and one of the hopes I have for the coming year pertains specifically to the district's plan to align high school programming and unite the 3 high schools in a common theory of action, although I think my remarks relate to more than just that. I know we are all aware of the extremely critical implications for equity in this work. In fact, I know that equity is the point. And my hope is that the district in its data gathering cycles and all of you on the board in your work connecting with constituents will expend all resources necessary to center the voices of stakeholders who have been historically underserved in schools. I'm thinking of concrete resources, action steps, securing language facilitation, being sensitive to families' schedules, and doing what it takes to gather insight from those who perhaps have not volunteered it yet. I believe that concrete resources should be dedicated to this, and I would love for the board to be transparent about the work that they are doing to make sure that all voices are at the table for these important decisions. I believe that the work that you are undertaking has the power to shift our district in ways that go beyond just making programming more uniform and equal, but rather we can push all 3 of our high schools to become more equitable in ways that are really important and to serve all students, our multilingual students in particular, more equitably. Thank you so much for all of your work.
Thank you so very much, Mallory. And our final educator to speak to us tonight is Charlie Marangi, who is a lead teacher at Reiki Community School.
Good evening, everyone. At Reiki, we greatly value belonging. We know that that's a district goal as well. Belonging often involves difficult conversations. If you want to dig into how people can belong, we invite you to take those steps with us. And part of that work necessitates looking at the balance of social emotional needs, which have been mentioned tonight, but also academic needs. We ask you to walk at our side as we dig into that heavy work and into those difficult questions. And keep in mind that the SEL needs, the academic needs are equally paramount. Congratulations, and look forward to working with you this year.
Thank you so much, Mr. M. I hope each of you on the board can take away from the great wisdom of our staff implications for our work as the school board and how urgent and essential it is to support our courageous leaders and to be courageous ourselves. The time is now, particularly as we move into a superintendent transition, to find our courage and to lead with conscience. Surely the children of Portland deserve nothing less. Now we are going to recognize our outgoing board members. And first, I'd like to invite Mr. Youssef to recognize board member Burke.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much. It's a great honor to, on behalf of the board, recognize my mentor, my friend, Adam Burke. Adam has qualities of a good leader with a great sense of purpose. As my mentor, when I started at first, my role in the board, and the past 2 years, I worked with Adam closely and learned how much effort and commitment Adam dedicated to the board. In these 2 exceptional, challenging years, I have watched Adam's leadership skills and equity-centered proposals Working with Adam gave me the opportunity to ask questions and understand how meaningful and important the work that we are doing. Your wisdom and contribution to the board will be missed, but I know you will be fine easily because you love to be around Portland Public Schools. Thank you so much for your advocating for our students during these difficult times. You always make sure that teachers, staff get the appreciation they deserve for their hard work. Thank you for your commitment to racial equity in Portland public education. And finally, thank you for your public service and dedication. Wishing you productive health and happy life after board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Youssef. I'd like to turn to the superintendent to recognize Board Member Burke.
I would also like to thank Board Member Adam Burke for 3 years of distinguished service on the board. I've come to think of Adam as the spirit and conscience of the board. In my career, I've met many people who espouse the values that are at the heart of the Portland Promise, centering the needs of those who have been left out of the promise of public education with a recognition that zip code, language spoken at home, parents' education, race, and a host of related variables are more a determinant of that lack of access than ability or motivation. And that is definitely true of Adam. When we, as a society, had a reckoning with racism in 2020, Adam was looking around and welcoming everyone to where they had been for a long time. That deep internalization of marginalization and an unswerving commitment to seeing our public education system as a tool to disrupt those patterns rather than perpetuate them is at the core of who you are. The other thing that sets you apart is your value of the humans in every interaction. You could be relied on to be the first to thank and the last to blame, all the while staying true to your values and collectively reminding all of us that those are the shared values that we all espouse. Accountability is sometimes thought of as a bad thing, but I always saw you as the one holding us collectively accountable for our commitments and actions. I will miss having you as a sounding board. I will miss our occasional coffee, beer, and walks, but I know that you will continue to be engaged and pushing us to be our best self always. I was talking with someone the other day and your name came up. Were your ears ringing? And they described you as a community builder. And I thought, yeah, that describes Adam to a T. Adam, thank you for your service. Here is a PPS themed fleece. Yes. And a plaque as recognition for your service on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Next, Ms. Russell-Better is going to recognize our outgoing student representatives.
Thank you, Chair. I have the pleasure of acknowledging our 3 students who weren't able to make it tonight, but wanted to note some of the special skills and talents they brought to the board. Maggie Ellis was our student from Casco Bay High School, and just really appreciated. I think she might have won the prize of latest nights for the maybe 5-6 hour meetings. So I was always very much impressed with the commitment to stay through some of our long conversations and always had very insightful feedback to share. I wanted to thank Jody Dio, who is our Portland Adult Education board rep. She served with me on the policy and curriculum committee, and I just always really appreciated her perspective as an adult student and having feedback and good questions that were always really enlightening for us, just in a different place of experience of our school system day to day. And then Abdullah El-Zamili, who is our rep from Portland High School. I really appreciated his challenging sometimes some of our decisions that he had different perspectives about. And I thought that was always very brave, and just found him sharing his thoughts with conviction as very inspiring. So wanted to thank our three students for all that they shared during this very challenging year in so many ways. I was thinking about, being a high school student during the threats to their schools, during kind of coming back to some state of more normalcy after 2+ years of COVID, and just the commitment to come and be engaged with us. Certainly amidst all of that is quite remarkable. So thank you to our three outgoing students. And we have the benefit of Natalie Santiago and Danny McLaughlin continuing with us. So thrilled that they will continue to serve in the next year. And they have also been a wonderful addition, and I think wonderful to have the experience of them as we welcome our new students. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Russell-Bader. So that is the end of our recognitions, and I wanted to give Board Member Burke an opportunity to say any words if you're so inclined.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you to everyone I've had the chance to serve with, collaborate with, listen to, and talk with over the past 3 years. This isn't the night that I hoped to be having, but here we are. And first of all, I'm sorry that our payroll issues continue. There's not one person in this district or on this board that doesn't want everyone paid on time and correctly. And while a full understanding of how we got here is not something I can offer tonight, I'll offer this. It's always easiest to blame people without having all the information. And in public education and government, I think we often look like the Spider-Man meme where there's 3 of us pointing at each other. And we kind of say, it was you, no, it was you, no, it was you. And at the end of it, the masks come off and we find out that it was us. Very rarely is there a Scooby-Doo villain hiding under one of those masks. I've watched countless cycles of how the system pits us against one another, parents versus teachers, teachers versus admin, admin versus the board, and round and round. And I've also seen many instances of this not happen, where we've all come together to find our way through a problem. And when we've done that, we've always been better for it. And look, the most important thing is for the payroll issues to be corrected and that they don't happen again. And once that happens, in addition to the diagnosis of what went wrong in the first place, I hope we can find lessons that transcend the specific issues so that we can do better in the face of future issues. With that said, I'd just like to express gratitude as we live in a world where multiple things can be true at once, even if incompatible at times. First of all, to our teachers and ed techs, subs, and specialists, and looking at you, Carrie, and Rebecca, whom I know from my kids being at Rowe in particular as friendly daily faces. Just thank you. Carrie, I hope you know in particular as my oldest former teacher how much I value you and all that teachers and educators do every day. You've made a lasting positive impact on my kid that I'm so grateful for, and I know that this happens every day for thousands of students in our schools. To our transportation department, thank you for making the beginning and end of every school day a positive experience. I think the unique challenge of figuring out bus routes and calling snow days is something most people don't know the agony of. And you've managed to do it through all sorts of circumstances. I know Marcia best as she's my kid's bus driver, and it's just a joyous occasion every day at the bus stop. And so thank you. To our janitorial staff for making it possible to be in our schools every day through the height of the COVID restrictions in particular. Thank you. To our food service department, I'm so proud of you. You move to serve thousands of meals every day as our state's largest restaurant. You've added benefits, like for my family in particular, with vegan hot lunches, and you're starting work in culturally relevant meals, and it's very exciting. So thank you for doing all that with basically a budget of 0 cents per meal. To Grace and the multilingual team, thank you for helping me understand the difference between real valuable communication with our multilingual families and not doing what's the equivalent of an all or welcome lawn sign that I might put in front of my house. While that's perhaps well-intentioned, it's mostly performative. You've stayed true to the needs of our multilingual families first and foremost, always being a strong advocate, and you've helped us experience the full richness of our community in moments like the recent shared space cafes. To Carlos, who I don't see, but thank you for speaking poetry to my ears as you talked us through the pedagogies and use in so many of our language learning programs. I hope that your work continues to inform the work of the district and that perhaps things like outdoor experiential learning and heritage languages can come more integrated as there's a lot of the same principles being used as students explore nature, food, language, self, and place. Terry, who's probably trying to solve a lot of problems right now. Thank you. I've only begun to get to know you in your new role, and that's not easy. Thanks for not bailing. Thank you for always looking for the path forward, how to get to a yes, and for staying committed to your colleagues and students every day. Gail, who's not here, but oh my gosh, Gail, you're singular in both your command of endlessly complex and to me frustrating federal systems, and yet you always have a grace of both explaining and navigating them while fully being dedicated to our district goals, especially equity. Bob Stoddard, who's luckily not here because I'd definitely start crying if I saw her. I'm very happy that you personally will have the chance at some point to step away and take time for yourself. And clearly, we're not ready to let go of you. But I saw over and over again during the last 3 years, and especially throughout the pandemic, you exemplify what we heard that people do in PPBS every day. You do the right thing, even when it's not the easy thing. Barrett, I can see you, and thank you for holding our diversity, equity, and belonging work and making sure that it's not just you that's holding it, that we're all doing it. And you've been generous throughout that work to bring others into it, including at other districts, at USM and elsewhere. And I look forward to what comes next. Aaron, thank you for leading the way in what good process looks like, especially for our policy development. You've done exemplary work using co-design processes with truly diverse stakeholders to yield meaningful policy that addresses real problems. It's not just bare minimum legally required work, and it's made a real difference. Malia, thank you for making space, both you and your team, for my passion for curriculum and making sure that there are appropriate boundaries between board work and staff work, because I know I was very happy to cross those at times. But you helped us both see what the awesome work was already underway, understand where we were in it, understand what's needed to keep investing in it. And I'm grateful for the opportunities I had to both push as well as to applaud all that's happening. Now, Javier, don't worry. I'm going to talk about you. So put your deflector shields down. You helped me grow up into the role of school board member quickly, particularly with your insistence that if I didn't like something, then I better have an idea of how else to do it or a process to get there. That being dissatisfied with an approach or response simply wasn't enough. And in this way, we've had both passionate and principled disagreements, as well as passionate and principled agreements. You've done right by Portland by sticking with us and not leaving. Not in your first couple of years, not during the pandemic, and not before we can conduct a superintendent search in an orderly fashion. You've done this in a community where some have consistently said, get out of here, you're not from here, and much more, while they're also not even able to say your name correctly. I hope you can close out the last half of your year strong, and thank you again for setting us up for an organized leadership transition. I don't know, some of y'all were here my early days after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I kind of went off. This is my going off. I got more to say, so thanks for bearing with me. To the incoming board, thank you for doing this work. There's a poster in Maine General Hospital in Augusta that summarizes board work and really any group work, and it says everyone gets their say, but not everybody gets their way. So if I can leave you with that. And there's also some other bits of wisdom I'll try to leave. First is, what kind of boss do you want to be? You're simultaneously 9 bosses that can only act as one boss, and you can only oversee and manage the superintendent, no one else. So how do you want to lead by example for how this district treats its employees? Will you get on the pressure bus and put more on staff to get back on track with the standardized test results and maintain the status quo of the industrial education system? Or will you continue to envision new futures for education and work towards them together? Will you listen to our former student rep, Emily Chung, who framed what students need in this phase of the pandemic as rebuilding foundations and relighting motivation? And how will you help this superintendent in the next make sure that school days are largely happy, satisfying, and rewarding for all our students and staff? I'm looking forward to how you'll improve both the formal and informal processes involved in doing the board work. Erin, as I mentioned, has showed us great ways to do a lot of this work. Will you follow that path? How will you better involve our student reps at every meeting? And how do you want to continue making board work more accessible to Portland's many communities, not just those with the most privileges and access already? And there's a bonus. How will you hold multiple things to be true at once, sometimes at odds with each other, and still find a meaningful way forward? Whose needs and experiences will you prioritize, and will you be explicit in that in your decision making? A lot of things that we've been successful in have been held up. I'll name that, this was an unprecedented term with the COVID-19 pandemic. 3 months with him being sworn in, we were faced with life or death decisions. And to my knowledge, nobody died based on COVID-19 transmission in the district. And that's really morbid to celebrate, but that's what was at stake. And that's what we were doing here. Our district also had to respond to the deadly pandemic of systemic racism after the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Chance David Baker, Isahak Moose, and many others. And we kept our commitment to racial equity and justice. And while many organizations issued equity statements, hired consultants, convened a DEI committee, and then changed nothing, we had already begun the work, previously due to the strategic plan and commitment to the Portland Promise. We removed police from our schools. We moved to fully fund our commitments to multi-language learners under the LAU plan for the first time since we were legally bound to in more than 40 years. We conducted our Educator of Color inquiry, which yielded a report and recommendations, which we have begun implementing. We updated a harassment and discrimination policy in real and meaningful ways. We passed our equity policy, and we're creating curriculum like Wabanaki studies and local Black history and more. And on the note of local Black history, I'd like to take a moment to talk about how we're still failing to create meaningful change in the outcomes for our Black students. And early in my term, I asked, why is it worse to be poor and Black in Portland than in other districts in Maine, based on those outcomes that we look at? And the data tells us that PPS, like most any school, is excellent if you're from a middle class or wealthy family and white. However, if you're economically disadvantaged, a multiple language learner, Latina, Black or Indigenous, then your experience will be different and your outcomes will be different. Of course, this has actually nothing to do with individual talents or abilities, and certainly not because of any real differences between the talents and abilities of our socio-political racial identities. But it has everything to do with our systemic and collective biases and barriers. And while Portland is not unique in this, as I recently learned, we are unique in how bad those systemic biases have played out. In the 99 Years podcast by Samuel James and Flo Edwards, which is about the Black exploration of the deliberate creation of the whitest state in the nation, they document Portland's untold story of adopting a city government model that's based on a Southern plantation model, which was explicitly designed to exploit the labor of trafficked and enslaved human beings. It was a city government championed by the KKK because of its extreme racist orientation. And for the last 99 years, this has and will continue to be our city government model. It has yielded expectable results. Samuel James summarizes data that's readily available, both in the podcast and in an article from Mainer, which goes as, nationally, the Black poverty rate is more than twice the rate of white poverty. The rate of Black poverty in Portland is more than twice the national Black poverty rate. In Maine, Black poverty is 3 times larger than the state's white poverty rate. And in Portland, where the majority of Black Mainers live, Black poverty is 4 times higher than the white poverty rate. The most recent estimates indicate that Black Portlanders have the lowest median household income of any racial group, only group below $50,000, and the only group with a home ownership rate below 10%. It's also the only group to have negative or non-existent earnings growth, having reached a peak in 2018 when the earnings growth was 0%. So to answer my question about why it's worse to be here in Portland, if you're Black and poor, is because Portland is designed to be worse as a city. So why wouldn't that be true in our schools too? During my term, the district has been laser focused, and rightfully no one is satisfied with the results. But we need to be working to change the collective systems here in Portland to change these outcomes. While we love to dump on schools to take on, alleviate, and ultimately fix every social and economic problem, we can't. If folks don't have sufficient economic resources or stable housing, we know that the odds are against them in academic achievement. Well, the data is screaming at us. Black folks are worse off in Portland compared to the rest of the state and the rest of the country in profoundly unacceptable ways. And that's all on all of us, not just the schools. I have a lot more things to say, and I will wrap it up quickly. The superintendent and I failed, but we did propose a guaranteed basic income pilot utilizing COVID relief funding early on to try to begin to address these realities in Portland. The state denied the application, but I still think it was the right thing to do, and it's going to take those kind of efforts to change these outcomes. I'm also proud that the board joined me in 2020 to reject cuts to wages as a means to reduce our budget. And instead, staff worked with board directive to look in other areas for those reductions. It slowed some of the work as a district for sure, but it was the right thing to do. And I'm proud that every union contract I voted for during my term has raised wages for the PA, base, ed techs. And I'm proud that this board instituted hazard pay even when the city wasn't enforcing it, when it was overwhelmingly passed by voters. In the end, and this is an end, I feel unfinished. I've had to grieve intensely for the past few weeks since losing my re-election bid. Regardless, thanks again for the opportunity to serve, and I'm grateful for all of the work people do in this district every day and will do to help us continue to do better together. Thank you all for your ears.
To Board Member Burke and our outgoing student representatives, thank you for your dedicated service and especially for your courageous work to make Portland Public Schools an anti-racist school district. Now it's time for our newly elected board members and new student representatives to take the oath of office, administered by City Clerk Ashley Rand. We're going to start with the newly elected board members, at-large board members Ben Grant and Sarah Lentz, and District 3 Representative Julian Opperman. If the three of you can come up to the front and stand in front of the superintendent facing Ashley, please.
Okay, go ahead, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name. Do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall remain a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully discharge the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as a City of Portland School Board member, according to said constitutions, laws of the state, and ordinances of this city. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Now I'd like to introduce our student representatives, 3 of whom are new and 2 are returning to serve a second year. For those of you, I don't know if anyone's on Zoom. For those of you who are joining or attending in person, please come up to the front and stand in front of the superintendent when I call your name. So Joe Ellis will be representing Casco Bay High School. Natalie Santiago will be representing Deering High School for a second year. Danny McLaughlin, who is not, I believe, present tonight, will be representing PAS, Portland Arts and Technology High School, for a second year. Francisco will be representing Portland Adult Education, and Camden Hemond will be representing Portland High School.
Okay, go ahead, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name. I do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state,
so long as I shall remain a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully discharge, to the best of my abilities, the duties incumbent on me as a City of Portland School Board student representative according to the Constitution, laws of the state, and the ordinances of this city. Congratulations.
Congratulations, students. We're so excited to have you working with us. And thank you, Ms. Rand. All right, Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll for the 2022-2023 school board? And yeah, the new board members can come and sit in your seats.
Ms. Russell Better,
Here.
Ms. Bondo,
Présent.
Ms. Biliou, Ms. Bryden,
Here.
Mr. Grant.
Here.
Ms. Lentz,
Here.
Dr. Opperman,
Here.
Mr. Youssef. Here. Ms. Ellis.
Here. Here.
Ms. Francisco.
Here.
Mr. Hemond.
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin. Ms. Santiago.
Here.
And Ms. Victor.
Here. Welcome, everyone. Now we'll move into the election of the chairperson for the Portland Board of Public Education for the 2022-2023 year. Before we move into nominations, I want to share with the public news that I shared with the board and the superintendent this past weekend. As I said at our last meeting, I never intended to chair the school board for a third year. But when Adam Burke lost the re-election in November, we had to scramble as Adam was slated to become our next chair. I told my colleagues in the immediate aftermath that I'd be willing to do it and chair again this year. But the more that reality sunk in, the more I realized that it's too demanding to sustain for a third year on top of my full-time job and parenting my two girls. So I've withdrawn myself from consideration as chair. I'm so excited for the new leadership team that we're going to elect tonight. So let's get to it. Consideration and action to take nominations for the Portland Board of Public Education chairperson. Is there a nomination? Ms. Russell Better. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to nominate Sarah Lentz as next chair of the Portland School Board of 2022-2023.
Thank you, Ms. Russell Better. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I'm going to close nominations. Ms. Russell Better, will you speak to your nomination?
Yes, thank you. I'm excited to talk a little bit about Sarah Lentz, who has shown in a few short months on the board her ability to collaborate and communicate during a very difficult time. She is able to sit with and move us through some hard things, and I believe that she has the ability to think creatively and tenaciously as we problem solve a lot of what we have as a district and currently the challenges we face with our payroll. She has a strong equity lens in all that she does, and I have faith that she will continue us on our path to fully implement the Portland Promise for every PPS student. I was reflecting on the words of Mr. Morales and Mr. Bernstein earlier, and their focus, as along with some of the other staff that spoke, of leading with student voice at our center. And it made me think of Ms. Lentz and her. I know that she's going to be out there on day one, building relationships with our staff and families and students every day. And that also makes me feel very hopeful in the coming year of the work we have ahead of us. So with that, I ask us to nominate and vote on Sarah Lentz. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Russell-Better. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, is there any board discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, please indicate whether you support the appointment of Sarah Lentz as the Portland Board of Public Education Chairperson for the 2022-2023 year. And for the election of chair, you need to actually state the name of the person you're voting for. In this case, there's one nomination, so it's quite clear, quite a little bit awkward, but you should, instead of saying yes, you should state Sarah's name. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Russell-Better,
Sarah Lentz.
Ms. Bondo,
Sarah Lentz.
Ms. Bryden,
Sarah Lentz.
Mr. Grant,
I'll go first, Sarah Lentz.
Ms. Lentz.
I'd like to vote for myself, please. Sarah Lentz.
Dr. Opperman,
Sarah Lentz.
Mr. Youssef,
Sarah Lentz.
Ms. Ellis,
Sarah Lentz.
Ms. Francisco,
Sarah Lentz.
Mr. Hemond,
Sarah Lentz.
Ms. Santiago,
Sarah Lentz.
and Ms. Figdor.
Sarah Lentz. So it is unanimous with our students voting with the majority. Sarah is our new chair. Congratulations, Sarah. And now the meeting is in your hands, so take it away.
Here we go. Now we're going to have consideration and action to take nominations for the Portland Board of Education Vice Chairperson. Is there a nomination? Yes, Emily.
I would like to nominate Miss Mickey Bondo.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, would you like to speak to the nomination?
Yes, please. I am so very honored to nominate Miss Bondo as vice chair. Miss Bondo and I were both first elected to the school board in 2018, and I very quickly came to admire and deeply respect Miss Bondo. Miss Bondo leads from her heart and based on her profoundly rich personal experience and deep commitment to the community. She's determined, whip smart, and lights up any room she's in. Miss Bondo is truly an inspiration. I'm so grateful to Miss Bondo for all she does for immigrant women, Portland students, and the broader Portland and Maine communities. Miss Bondo, as the other most senior member of this board, will bring a wealth of institutional knowledge to the new leadership team. And she and Chair Lentz, I like that, the ring to that. She and Chair Lentz will be a powerhouse team. I couldn't be more enthusiastic to nominate Miss Bondo as vice chair of this board, and I'm so excited for her to take on this new role.
Are there any questions on the motion? Any discussion? Then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you support the appointment of Ms. Bondo as the Portland Board of Public Education Vice Chairperson for 2022 to 2023. And for the election of vice chair, again, we'll need to state the name for the person that you are supporting. Mr. Superintendent, can you please call the roll?
As chair, Ms. Russell-Better,
Mickey Bondo.
Ms. Bondo,
Awkward, Miss Bondo.
Ms. Bryden,
Mickey Bondo.
Mr. Grant,
Mickey Bondo.
Ms. Lentz,
Mickey Bondo.
Dr. Opperman,
Abusana Bondo.
Mr. Youssef,
Mickey Bondo.
Ms. Ellis,
Mickey Bondo.
Ms. Francisco,
Mickey Bondo.
Mr. Hemond,
Mickey Bondo.
and Ms. Santiago,
Mickey Bondo.
and Ms. Figdor.
Mickey Bondo.
Congratulations. Is that
It's unanimous.
Oh, it's unanimous.
With the students
Thanks.
voting with the majority.
Gonna need some support. I'm sorry for the missing the summary, but yes. Congratulations, Ms. Bondo. And I would now like to invite Harper Beal to come up to the podium to recite the Portland Creed.
I am a proud member of the community of Portland, of Maine, and of the United States. It is my right and my duty to make an honest living and to be comfortable and happy. It is my privilege and my honor to help others secure these benefits. I will work hard and play fair. I will be kind to all, especially to little children and people who are aging. To those less fortunate than I am, and to animals. I will help to make Portland a clean, beautiful, law-abiding city. These are the best services I can render to my city, my state, and my country.
Thank you, Harper, and thank you for all the support and patience and love that you've given your mom over these last few years. We've all benefited from it. Thank you. And next up, under the direction of Mrs. Julianne Eberl, is the Portland High School Orchestra performing Exultate, I'll work on my Latin, Jubilate by W.A. Mozart. Many thanks to the Portland High School Orchestra for that beautiful rendition. And now I'm going to say a few words, but first I just want to acknowledge how much this ceremony has captured all of the things that I really love about this district and make me proud to be walking into this role. So I feel very emotional, and it's so exciting to see all of these wonderful things and people in this room together. So thank you. And I'd like to just start by thanking everybody who has helped and encouraged me get to this place today. My son, who is right there. Hey, Finn. Yeah. Cupcakes are coming soon. So hang on. Then we're coming down the home stretch. My moms who are here. There they are. All the teachers and staff and students who inspire me on a daily basis. And too many friends and community members to name. I'm also incredibly grateful for each of my fellow board members and the superintendent. Since I decided to run for school board, I've gotten to know each of these people very deeply. I am familiar with their strengths, their unwavering belief in the Portland Public Schools, and their commitment to fulfill the Portland promise for every student in our district. I'm so thankful not only for their trust as I move into this role, but for the fact that I get to work alongside each one of you and learn from each one of you. And a special thank you to Emily Figdor for your leadership and your vision. I'm excited and eager to be taking on this role right now, even as the district continues to confront enormous challenges, including a staffing shortage, continued racial inequities, and a payroll crisis. The reason is simple. I love the Portland Public Schools. And here's why. I grew up in a small town in Indiana, and I didn't have what our Portland Public Schools have. Before I was 2, my mom and dad divorced and each ended up with a life partner of the same gender. I thought having so many parents was really cool, but my school and community didn't. My family wasn't represented or acknowledged in books, in class curriculum, anywhere. This didn't feel good. It made me hesitant to speak up in class or to fully express myself, and it made me a target for bullying. but I've always been a problem solver and always wanted a better community for everyone around me. So I took it upon myself to bring in a book to school about a young girl with 2 dads into my classroom. I was really proud to have that part of my family with me at school and to show my friends and family what my family looked like. My teachers in school didn't match my excitement. They were shocked by the book. They pulled me into the hallway, took away my book, and insisted I never bring it again. At the time, I didn't have the words or understand the concepts that I do now to make sense of what happened, but I knew that I never wanted another kid to feel like I did that day. That moment has served as an anchor to me in my education and career, both of which have been focused on equity and inclusion. In college, I studied education and theater with a focus on gender and LGBTQI identities. This path led me to youth development, working with people from all over the world in an experiential learning program here in Maine. From there, I moved to Boston to work with high schoolers from low-income communities to get through high school and to build a plan for their own personal success. It was in Boston that I learned how racism, classism, and other forms of oppression negatively impact our young people's educational outcomes and life outcomes, which ultimately affect us all. When I moved back to Maine, I was lucky enough to work in a handful of our schools, witnessing the brilliance of our students and the care and commitment of our educators. I've since had my own child, there you are again, now an Ocean Ave student, finished a graduate degree in policy and management, and moved into philanthropic work. I'm bringing all of these experiences with me as I step into this role, ready to support this institution I so deeply believe in. As Emily said, this year is a time to be courageous. Here's my call to courageous action for all of us. To my board colleagues, including our wonderful student representatives who I'm excited to get to know, we've got a lot of work to do, and we need all of your talents and strengths at the table. The district needs the board to lead us forward. The students and staff need us to ensure that systems improve, and the public needs us all to demonstrate our competence, accountability of each other, and vision. We must continue to center equity in our work, and we must be in community, in the schools, and in conversations. To our community, I know these years have been tough. Please know that your perspectives and feedback are valid and important, and that the board considers each of you a critical PPS stakeholder. Whether or not you are a parent or guardian, you are affected by our schools. Today's students are tomorrow's employees, neighbors, and leaders. It's my hope that you will participate in the district's conversations with compassion and care, including our upcoming superintendent search. To our young people, you're brilliant, valuable, and unique. The board and I are eager to hear about your experiences and what you need to thrive here in Portland. I promise to listen to your thoughts and ideas and make room for you as key decision makers. And lastly, to our incredible teachers, ed techs, and staff, I'm so grateful for you. You're the glue that holds our schools together. Our community has asked you to pivot over and over during the course of the pandemic. We have asked you to do more and more with less. The needs of our students are increasing, and then our payroll system stopped functioning properly, leading to financial and logistical difficulties none of you deserve, not to mention the additional stress and emotional burden. At tomorrow's board meeting, we'll provide an update on all the actions that we are taking, both short and long term, to ensure that this never happens again and to work on repairing all of the harm done. I invite you all to come and share with us how these last few weeks have affected you and how we can make it right, as I know many of you are planning to. We will work tirelessly with you to regain your trust. Again, I am incredibly grateful for everyone in this room and for all of you across the city of Portland, and I look forward to coming together with all of you next year. And Ms. Bondo, what would you like to add?
All right, after you, I will try. So thank you so much. And I just want to be grateful to the whole team and the whole board for the nomination and the vote. So I am emotional, but I look forward working under your leadership, Ms. Lance, especially for balancing the social, emotional, and academic needs of our students, like I heard from the educator, but also using some of the transparency and collaborative approaches to our both role as the core value for what we really represent as a public elected. And I think, as we said, then we are courageous because we have a lot of to do. So let's go just start doing it. Thank you.
Perfect. Now we've reached the end of our meeting. Thank you for helping me. So would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Yes. Do I have a second? Beautiful. So moved by Emily Fictor, seconded by Sarah Bryden, and we voted you. Now we vote. Oh,
You
it's
could
okay.
just
I'll be
do
better by tomorrow. Yeah.
Just a shot.
By a show of hands, can we vote to adjourn the meeting, please? Thank you. I see it's unanimous across the board. And we move to adjourn. Our next meeting is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.